Hey everybody, welcome to the videos for my favorite value plays for week 9 of the NFL season over on Draftkings. If you want to check out my favorite high-end and mid-range plays videos that I posted early on in the week, I'll try to link that in the top right-hand corner of your screen. And if you find this video helpful in any way possible, please leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I really do appreciate it. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. And as always, start the quarterback position, and the only guy I'm going to talk about here is Drew Lock at $5,200. Quarterback is littered with really good expensive plays this week, and for the most part, that's probably where I'm going to be in cash games. We have Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes. All those guys are very, very good options this week, and I think it's going to be a spin-up quarterback week, but if you want to get different and go with a cheap quarterback, Drew Lock draws a fantastic matchup versus one of the worst pass defenses of all football in the Atlanta Falcons. They're awful versus quarterbacks, wide receivers, and versus tight ends. And this Broncos offense is cheap all around. Drew Lock is cheap, tight ends cheap, and Noah Fant. The wide receivers are cheap as well, so it's very easy to stack this team up. And you can always run it back with someone expensive like Julio Jones if you just want to go the full game stack, because I think this game has some sneaky shootout potential. We have around a 50-point over-under in Vegas, only a 4-point spread. Both these defenses aren't exactly great, and both teams played a decently fast pace, so I could see this game shooting out here. And Drew Lock at $5,200, if he just puts up like 250 and 2, I think we will take that. But overall, quarterbacks have been doing a lot better than that versus Atlanta pretty much each and every single week. They're 29th DVA versus the pass, allowing the second most DraftKings points per game to the position at nearly 30 points per game, over 320 passing yards per game, and 2.5 passing touchdowns per game as well. Now, and they've actually given up a 300-yard passer each and every single week this season, besides last week versus Teddy Bridgewater. And I'm not even expecting Drew Lock to get 300-plus passing yards, but if he does, obviously he'd be very happy at this price point. But if he gets us 250 and 2, or maybe even 3, he will take that all day, $5,200. Now, it feels pretty gross putting in Drew Lock over guys like the expensive quarterbacks this week, but in tournaments, I definitely think it's a viable way to go if you want to get a little bit contrarian and open up your lineup to other positions, because if you're paying down for Drew Lock, you're going to be able to very easily fit in guys like James Conner, Chase Edmonds, Dalvin Cook this week, maybe even Keenan Allen, guys like that. So Drew Lock, I think he's a very fine side relief option at quarterback, and it's definitely a very, very good matchup. Now, I know his numbers on the season have not been impressive, around 200 passing yards per game, and it's been nothing too crazy about a passing touchdown per game, but he's been throwing the ball around 40 times the past couple of weeks, and he actually had 20 DraftKings points last week. So I'm not saying it's a given it's going to happen again, but this matchup is excellent. I definitely think this is a sneaky game for fantasy purposes. And then moving into the running back position, I got to be honest, it's not a good position for value this week, and for the most part, I see myself spending up for guys like James Conner, Chase Edmonds, and Dalvin Cook, maybe sprinkle in some mid-range guys like David Johnson and David Montgomery. But really, for the most part, value is just, it's not that great this week. I could see people playing DeAndre Swift at $5,000 in a good matchup versus Minnesota, but personally, I like Justin Jackson a little bit more at $4,900. So I know the RB situation here can be a bit messy. There's now 3 guys because we saw Pope get involved last week. He saw around 25-30% of the snaps. Meanwhile, Kelly was just below 25%. But Justin Jackson, he led the way with nearly 50% of the team's snaps, and he had around 20 touches in that game. This is an excellent spot versus the Las Vegas Raiders. They're 31st, I thought I said Oakland for a second. Yeah, Las Vegas Raiders, they're 31st DVA versus the run, allowing 29.8 DraftKings points per game in the position, which is 27th in the league. Around 100 rushing yards per game, and they're getting beat up through the air as well, allowing nearly 6.5 catches per game and around 60 receiving yards, which Justin Jackson, we know, is a capable pass-catching running back. So $4,900 in a really good spot here versus the Raiders on a good offense with Justin Herbert at quarterback, I think he's a very viable option in tournaments. Probably won't go here in cash games because I'd rather get the studs like Conner, Edmonds, Dalvin Cook, but in tournaments, just to open up your lamp a little bit, I think Jackson's fine at $4,900, and there's definitely plenty of upside there. And then moving on to the wide receivers, I just put the Denver wide receivers group listed here. Now, I specifically put that Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy. There's other guys like Hamler that are viable, but for the most part, these are the guys I'm most interested in for the wide receivers on Denver. Now, Tim Patrick is not a lock to play. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, which can be a bit tricky. So even if he does play, it's always risky rostering guys with hamstring issues because that can pop up at any time during the game. But if he's on the field, I do like him. The previous 2 games before the Week 7 game in Kansas City where he got hurt, he had back-to-back 100-yard games, and he's gotten 8 out of 16 this season, which is actually pretty good. He's getting the ball downfield, and this is a fantastic matchup versus Atlanta, 29th DVA versus the pass, 20th versus wide receivers, allowing 45.5 DraftKings points per game to the position and over 210 receiving yards per game just to wide receivers as well. And he'd be an obvious pairing with Drew Lock. Personally, I like Jerry Jeudy a little bit more than Tim Patrick, and also the hamstring issue is definitely going to make me lean towards Jeudy just because you don't have to worry about that. And we know the guy is super talented. He was a first-round pick for a reason, and he's only $4,700, and he had double-digit targets last week. Now, you got to keep in mind that Tim Patrick was out, so that obviously boosted his targets, and if Tim Patrick is in, again, it'd be a little bit more split. If you're looking at the numbers on the season, Patrick's got around a 16.5% target share. Meanwhile, Judy's just shy of 20%. But overall, they're similar plays, but Jerry Jeudy's just slightly cheaper, and we don't have to worry about any injuries with him currently. And the matchup's absolutely fantastic. So both these guys are viable. Jerry Jeudy would probably be my preferred option here, but they both are all excellent matches versus Atlanta, and they're just nice, cheap pairing options with Drew Lock if you happen to go that way this week. And the last wide receiver I want to talk about is Danny Amendola at $3,700. So I'm not sure who the quarterback's going to be because Matthew Stafford is eligible to be able to return from the, whatever it's called, the COVID reserve list or something like that, because he has been testing negative. He's just in the high-risk category. I don't know exactly the specifics. So he might be able to play. Either way, I like Danny Amendola because if Chase Daniel happens to be the quarterback, I feel like he's going to check down a bit more, which Danny Amendola is not a guy that's going to be running 50-yard fades down the sideline all game. He's more of the underneath kind of guy. Just get open, sit down, and find the open spot. So either way, I don't really care who the quarterback is. Matthew Stafford, obviously, there's just more upside because he's a better quarterback, but he's more willing to take deep shots than I'm sure Chase Daniel is going to be. His numbers on the season aren't super impressive, only a 13% target share, around 4.5 targets per game. But you got to keep in mind, Kenny Golladay is going to be out this week, more than likely. And it's going to be an uptick in usage for guys like Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola, even Marvin Hall, and you could throw in TJ Hawkinson in there as well. So $3,700 versus secondary that's missing three of their cornerbacks right now in Minnesota. It's already bad anyway. Now they're missing three guys. It's just an excellent spot here for Danny Amendola and the Detroit Lions wide receiving group. They are 30th versus wide receivers right now, allowing 47.8 DraftKings points per game, which is the third most. They're 18th EVA versus the pass, allowing over 2 receiving touchdowns per game to wide receivers and nearly 200 receiving yards per game as well. So Amendola at $3,700. I think he's a very, very nice cheap option this week, especially with no Golladay. And then last but not least, we have Hunter Henry at $4,000. This is mainly just a price play and a pretty decent matchup. Now, the Raiders are more mid-range versus tight ends, allowing their 14th fewest points per game to tight ends, but I mean, Justin Herbert's the quarterback. He has been absolutely balling out, and this has been an offense that's scoring plenty of points right now. And he's got an 18.5% target share in the season. He's getting volume. He just hasn't really been producing too much the past few weeks, but over 6 targets per game. He's got a good quarterback throwing him the football. $4,000 just seems a bit too cheap for Hunter Henry. He's got a very, very large tight end versus linebacker advantage matchup this week, according to PFF, and the Raiders are 27th EVA versus the pass, actually ranked dead last in coverage this season. Like I mentioned, they're more so mid-range versus tight ends, but I'm not really too worried about that. And I think Hunter Henry is definitely an excellent value play tight end. And in most projection systems, he's going to grade as one of the best point per dollar options at the position this week for sure. And that's going to be it for the video, guys. This was a short one. I think this might be the shortest video I've ever posted on YouTube in the past year or two. So I'm sure most of you will like that. I know a lot of you probably don't like long videos, but that's going to be it for this one, guys. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will have my NASCAR video out later tonight. And I'll be doing my core plays video and my lineup building video tomorrow morning / afternoon / evening. So you guys can be on the lookout for that. If you want to follow me on social media, the handle's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You can always support the content over on Patreon. Always appreciate that. You can get access to the entire NFL DFS data sheet that I put a lot of time into each and every single week. And you can always hop into the Discord chat as well. But I think that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoy the rest or the start of your weekend, I guess. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.